Speaking of video games, the Legion Go S is actually real. Lenovo Legion Go S official. $499 buys the first authorized third-party SteamOS handheld. So this is actually cheaper. I think this was written by where's the author here? No, okay, no, that was the other one. Yeah. Anyway, this is actually cheaper than their Windows version. Now, don't be confused entirely into thinking it's because of SteamOS. That's partially it. So, I don't know why they've done it like this, but they have a 1 terabyte version with 16 gigs of RAM. That is $599, whereas the SteamOS version is 16 gigs with 512 gigs of memory, of storage. Did I say RAM before? 16 gigs RAM, 1 terabyte storage, 16 gigs RAM, 1 terabyte, 512 gigabytes of storage, $100 cheaper for the Lenovo Legion Go S with the SteamOS. Also, I didn't know how it was going to go before, but the color difference actually is a difference between the hardware. So the black version is going to be the SteamOS version, and the white version is going to be the Windows version. Whether that is going to be the case into the future, I don't know. You can probably install SteamOS or Windows on either one. I don't see any reason why they would design the hardware to be drastically different where that's not going to work. Obviously, the some of the button, there's like a SteamOS button, but that's replaced with a Legion button on the Windows version, so there's a slight difference there. But besides that, also I think there is I think they might have different CPUs. I didn't read it correctly. Oh, no, it's the... Okay, no, the different CPUs is the... There's also the Lenovo Legion Go, which has a different CPU. But I think the Windows and the SteamOS versions are going to be the same one. Also, it is going to be running, like, regular SteamOS. It is not going to be some, like, modified fork of SteamOS. That might happen in the future. I don't know. I would be very surprised if it doesn't have any, like, SteamOS, any Lenovo branding on it. But this is being made in, like, an actual partnership between Valve and Lenovo. It's not them just, like, taking it and be like, we're just going to run it now. So it is going to get actual SteamOS updates. Obviously, things that are relevant to only, like, the Steam Deck aren't going to be a thing on this device. But besides that, it's going to be regular old SteamOS, which I think is cool. I do genuinely think we are at a turning point for Linux gaming. I talked about this in the episode with Andrew last week. I think it was last week, yeah. We are legitimately at a turning point for Linux gaming. This is now the second device running SteamOS. This is the second Linux gaming handheld. And I know that China has a lot of interest in Linux gaming handhelds as well. And not just Linux gaming handhelds, just Linux in general, wanting to move away from Windows. We are legitimately at a point where Linux actually has a chance to become popular. You know, people always talk about, ooh, it's the Windows EOL, it's time. People are going to switch to Linux. Happened with Windows 7, it happened with Windows 8. It's going to happen later this year with Windows 10. We'll talk about that a bit later. Because, yeah, 2025 is the end of Windows 10 as well. It's going to happen with Windows 11. People are like, oh my god, Windows 11 is EOL. People are going to switch to Linux now. No. People don't switch operating systems, they switch computers. And that's not going to change. But now there is another device that you can buy that I don't think it's for sale yet. But there will be another device that you can buy that is running Linux. And the difference between the Steam Deck and Lenovo's device is the rollout. Valve did not have distribution channels worldwide. They still don't have distribution channels worldwide. They only got Australia distribution a couple of months ago. There's a bunch of countries you still can't buy a Steam Deck in. Lenovo is different, though. Lenovo doesn't ship to every single country in the world, but I guarantee that most of you have probably seen some sort of Lenovo device in a tech store, assuming, like, you know, it's actually a device that people in your country can afford and it makes sense to sell there. But Lenovo has much, much wider distribution channels, and you can pretty much get one anywhere. So I would be very surprised if we don't see Lenovo Legion Go S's showing up, like, in physical tech stores. Like, you go to, I don't know what exists in the US, but in Australia we have places like JB Hi-Fi or Harvey Norman, places like that. I would not be surprised if these actually start showing up in person. Or like gaming stores like EB Games or GameStop, right? I am very excited. I'm genuinely very excited because with more people being on Linux, and this isn't going to be the way that people wanted Linux to be adopted. People want, go through the desktop, install fucking Arch Linux or Fedora or Ubuntu, whatever. That was never going to happen. But if this is the way that we actually get problems dealt with on Linux, well, look, if this is the way it has to happen, I am more than happy about it. Now, I don't think an adoption of Steam Decks and then Lenovo's devices are going to convince companies like Adobe to bring their software over. But I do think once people try out SteamOS, try out Linux on these devices, and then try out the desktop mode and realize the desktop mode's actually pretty good as well, once that starts happening, you have more and more people just trying out Linux in general. That's when you start seeing those wider changes. So the first order of changes are the video game changes. Right now, there are still legitimate issues when it comes to anti-cheat, right? You know, you have your Fortnites that don't work. You have Apex Legends literally dropping support saying, there's too many cheaters on Linux. Not providing numbers. We can actually, like, we can look at how things go based on the actual cheating forums and what the actual cheaters and people making cheats seem to think about it. And there's just more cheaters on Windows. That's just a matter of fact. It's not even like it's like based on, like, even just per capita, there are just more cheaters on Windows because that's the platform that most people are on. Most people aren't going out of their way to install Linux to cheat. Granted, with kernel level anti-cheats, it is easier to cheat on Linux. It's just people are not on Linux, so there's just less people cheating in general. But if adoption of SteamOS is how we have to see things like kernel level anti-cheat actually happening, right? I don't want kernel level anti-cheat, but it's not going away. So if it's something like, you need to install the SteamOS kernel because this has Vanguard support, this has EAC support, this has BattlEye support, and this is the way you actually get Linux gaming fully done, I don't want to have to install a custom kernel. However, I don't see any other way that this can really happen. That, I do think, is the best possible chance of it going down. Obviously, a swap to server side and adopting GMs is the better solution, but like that ship is just gone. It's not gonna happen, and any ask for it to happen it's just gonna fall on deaf ears. I would much rather focus on things that are much more likely than just like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. So, with this device being a thing, hopefully it convinces other companies to try it. Hopefully this device sells well. I want this to be a good device, right? I hope Shush. I hope this has reasonable performance. Judging by the chip, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, unless it thermal throttles. It looks like it's laid out pretty much like a Steam Deck. It doesn't have touchpads by the looks of it. It has a finger... I think that's a fingerprint reader. Is that a fingerprint reader? Wait. Wait, maybe the Steam Deck version... Wait, actually, no, I think... Does it have a touchpad? I'm not seeing the Verge commenting on it. That looks like a touchpad under the thumbstick. If that's not a touchpad, I'm very confused what that is. Yeah, I actually have no idea what that would be if it's not a touchpad. But this has a wait. I just looked at the D-pad. It's got a Xbox. For anyone just listening, it's got an Xbox D-pad, so it's got a circle D-pad. Does Xbox still have that? I actually don't remember. I use my it does. Yeah. So it's the like it's hard to tell. Here we go. It's like a full-on circle instead of just being individual buttons, which is what like both Nintendo and Sony do with their D-pads, which is just objectively better. I don't care what anyone has to say. Like, is the D-pad on both of those is just objectively better. It's gotten a lot better. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot better than it used to be back on the original Xbox and 360, but it's still not great. But besides that, it pretty much looks like a Steam Deck. I don't... Oh, it does have back buttons. For anyone who is a back button enjoyer, it does have those as well, which is cool. I don't really use them that much because I've never really gotten used to them. I wanted a SCUF controller when I was a kid, but I never got one, so I never learned how back buttons work, and now I just find them kind of inconvenient to use, and it's not my thing. But they should be there for people who want them. So, I'm curious to see where this goes. I want to see if a third company does this. I want to see if there's, even if not, like, a new device, official support from one of the other companies, right? Like an official support from Asus. Like, you can now install SteamOS on the Asus ROG Ally. Things like that. I think just even taking that step would be really, really big.